Hello everyone, welcome to today's lecture of object-oriented programming using Java, and the paper code is CS504A. This is Shaini Chandra, Assistant Professor of Department of Computer Science and Engineering of Guru Nanak Institute of Technology. Let's look at today's lecture contents. Today we will learn how objects can be passed as parameters to a method or to a constructor. Then we will see how arguments like variables or objects can be passed to a method and what happens to the parameters of the methods when the arguments are being passed into them. Then we will see some more uses of this keyword. Let us look at our first topic, which is passing objects as parameters to a method or a constructor. So till now we have learned how variables can be passed as parameters to a method or to a constructor. Today we will see how objects can be passed to as parameters to a method or a constructor. So let's see a simple example to understand the concepts of objects being passed as parameters. Here you can see a simple program is written where this test is a user-defined class, and inside this class two instance variables have been taken, A and B, which are of integer types. This test is the constructor of this class, and inside this constructor there are two parameters which are of integer types, and they are I and j. Then inside this constructor body, two value assignment statements are written. The value of I, this parameter, is assigned into A, this instance variable, and the value of the next parameter j, this parameter, has been assigned into B, this instance variable. So two value assignment statements are there inside the body of this test constructor. After that, a method is written, and the name of the method is equal to, and its return type is boolean. Return type boolean means that only two values can be returned, either true or false, because we know that boolean value means only two values in Java, true or false. And inside this method we can see that a parameter has been taken. This O is the parameter name, and this test is the data type of the parameter. This is like defining a reference variable. You all know how to define a reference variable. Reference variables are those which can hold object of a particular class. So let me remind you what is reference variable with a short example. Suppose there is a class. I have not written the class. I have just written the two statements which are used to create an object of that class. Suppose a class is there and the name of the class is A. And here we want to create an object of this class A. And for that, obviously we can write a single statement like this. AOB equal to new A. So this statement will create an object OB of this class A. And here I have written the same statement in two statements. The first statement is defining the reference variable of that class. This OB is the reference variable and A is the class type of which we are defining the reference variable. And in the next statement here, the object is being physically created in memory, and making it equal to with OB means OB will now point to that object created in memory. So this first statement is the reference variable declaration statement. This OB is the reference variable of this A class, and this OB can only hold objects of this A class. So now let's go back to the program. So here in this program, this test O means that O is the reference variable of test class type. this is the test class. So here writing test O means that we are defining or declaring a reference variable O of test class type. That means here this O reference variable can hold an object of this test class. So this program will pass an object as parameter to a method. That means when we will call this method from inside the main method, we will pass an object of this test class to this O reference variable. Now inside this, some statements are written. There is an if else statement written. So I'll explain these statements later. Let's execute the program. Let's understand the program from main first, then we will come back here. After that, we will execute the program. So this pass OB is the main class because the main method is there inside it. This is the main method, the statement. Inside the main method, we have created 3 objects, all of the test class. This is the test class and we have created objects OB1, OB2 and OB3. All the objects are of test class. Now using the object OB1, we have passed two values 122 into these two parameters I and j. Using the second object OB2, we have again passed the same values to these parameters. And using the third object OB3, we have passed a different set of values -1 and -1 to these parameters. Now, two system.out.println statements are written. So whatever are written inside quotes will just be printed on screen. Then we are calling this equal to method. We are calling this equal to method using the OB1 method object. So the equal to method has been called using the OB1 object. And inside the pair of parentheses of this equal to method, we have passed the object OB2. That means this OB2 will go into this O. So inside this method body, we have written an if statement, and inside the if statement we are checking two conditions, and in between them a logical AND operation is placed. So the first condition is checking whether O dot A is equal to A or not. Now O means what? O means OB2, because I have already told that OB2 is being passed as parameter. So OB2 will go to where? Will obviously go to this small O reference variable. Now OB2 is an object of which class? It is an object of test class, and this O is a reference variable of which class? It is the reference variable of test class. And we know that a reference variable of a particular class can easily hold an object of that class. So no type mismatch is there. That's why OB2 can easily be passed into this O reference variable. So here O dot A actually means OB2 dot A. Now, what value we have passed to this test constructor using the object OB2? Let's see here in this statement, we have passed the value 100 to this I parameter using the object OB2. Then after that, another assignment statement is there inside the constructor body which says A equal to I. So using the object OB2, the value 100 will be passed into A. So here O dot A means OB2 dot A. That means actually 100. This one. Equal to A. Now this A means which A? This equal to method is called using the object OB1. So this right hand side A actually means the value of A that have been passed to this class constructor using the object OB1. So this A means actually the object, the value of A that has been passed to the test class constructor using the object OB1. Why using the object OB1? Because we have passed, we have called the equal to method using the object OB1. That's why the right hand side A, this A actually denotes the A of OB1. Now, what value we have passed into A using the object OB1, we can find it here in this statement. The value that has been passed into A is 100 because 100 has been passed into I, then inside it, it has been passed into A. So the left hand side means OB2 dot A, which is 100, and the right hand side means the A of OB1, which is also 100. Now let's see the next portion after the logical AND operation. Here also O dot B means OB2 dot B. So OB2 dot B means 22 because 22 has been passed to J, then into B. And the right hand side B means the value of B that has been passed to this small b variable, this instance variable small b, using the object OB1, which is again 22. So this right hand side P also means 22. That means the left hand side and right hand side both are equal. For this condition also the values are equal, and for this condition also the values are equal. So the logical AND operation succeeds. So it will enter into this if block and it will return a true value. Because it is a Boolean return type, that's why in this case, when we are comparing OB1 and OB2 objects, it will return a true value. We are checking in this program whether the value of OB1 object and the value of OB2 object are equal or not. Here we found that the values are equal, so it will return a true value. That means the first statement will give you a true value, and the value true will be returned to where? The value will be returned to here. And then after this space, directly the value true will be printed on screen. Now let's see the next statement. In the next statement, we are checking whether the object OB1 and OB3 are equal or not, or more um, we can say that whether the values passed to the objects OB1 and OB3 are equal or not. Now that we will check using this equal to method by passing objects into this parameter. Now here also the method has been called using the object OB1, and the parameter that has been passed into it is the object OB3. Now this OB3 object is of this test class, and this reference variable O is also of this test class. So no type mismatch is there. So OB3 can easily be passed into this O. Now inside this, we will check whether these two conditions are met or not. The first one, O dot A, actually means OB3 dot A because OB3 has been passed into O. So O dot A means OB3 dot A. Now using the object OB3, what value we are passing into A? Let's see. So here in the statement, we can see that a value -1 has been passed into I, then into A. So using OB3, we are passing a value -1. So this O dot A actually means -1. And the right hand side actually means the value that has been passed into A using the object OB1, because here also the equal to method has been called using the object OB1. So the right hand side A means the value that has been passed into A using the object OB1, which is 100, just as I discussed. So the left hand side is -1 and the right hand side is 100. So the two values are not equal. So this condition fails. Now logical AND is an operator which will check both the conditions, and both the conditions have to be true in order for this if block to execute. So this condition is false. Now let's check whether this condition is true or not. Here also O dot B means OB3 dot B. OB3 dot B means this -1 again. This -1 has been passed into this J using the object OB3, and then this -1 has been passed into the instance variable B. So O dot B means OB3 dot B or -1, and the right hand side B means the value that has been passed into the variable B using the object OB1, and that is 22. So the left hand side is -1 and the right hand side is 22, which are not equal. So both the conditions are false. That means this if block will not be executed. So the else block will be executed. And inside this else block, a return statement is there. So this return statement will actually return a false value because OB1 and OB3, both these objects have found to be not equal because the values that have been passed using the objects OB1 and OB3 are not equal. So this false value will be returned and the value will be returned to here in this portion. So after this space, this false value will be displayed on screen. Now let's execute the program to see the output. As I told that the first two objects are equal, that's why they are returning true, and the values that have been passed using the objects OB1 and OB3 are not equal, that's why a value false has been returned. So this is how we can pass an object as a parameter to a method. Here we have seen that um, the two objects OB2 and OB3 have been passed to this reference variable. So just like we pass normal variables to a method, we can also pass objects to a method like this, just as explained in this program. And not only methods, we can also pass objects to a constructor parameter also. Now, in the next example program, we will see how objects can also be passed into constructor parameters. This is a simple program which shows how objects can be passed into a constructor parameter. So this is a program where this A is a user-defined class. Here inside the class, you can see that two instance variables A and B of integer types have been declared and constructors are being overloaded. Four constructors are there. This is the default constructor which will just print this value. This is a parameterized constructor which will take two parameters and the values of the two parameters will be assigned into the two instance variables A and B. Then the values of the instance variables will be printed using this statement. In the next overloaded constructor, there is a single parameter M which is of integer type and the value of the single parameter M will be assigned into both the instance variables A and B. And then the values of the instance variables will be printed using this statement. And the fourth overloaded constructor is a parameterized constructor which will take an object as parameter. So this OB is the reference variable of this A class type. This is the A class and this is the reference variable which is of this A class type. That means here inside this OB reference variable, we can pass an object of A class. Now, what happens inside this constructor body is that the instance variable A has been assigned a value ob.a. That means whatever object we will be passing into this OB reference variable and whatever value we will be passing to the constructor um, of this class, those values will be taken into account and the same value will be assigned into this instance variable A. And the same thing will happen for this statement also. Whatever object we will pass into this reference variable OB and whatever values we will be passing to this class using that object, that value is this value that will be assigned into this instance variable B. And after that, using this statement, the values of the two instance variables will be printed. Now this is the main class. Inside this, the main method is there. Three objects have been created, OB1, OB2, OB3. Using the first object creation statement, this part is actually calling this default constructor body. So the first output you will see is no parameters. Using the second object creation statement, this part of this object creation statement will actually call this overloaded constructor, because two values have been passed, and this one is also a double parameterized constructor, so a match will be found here. So this constructor will be called, and the value of x, which is 10, will be assigned into A. The value of y, which is 20, will be assigned into B, and then the values will be printed on screen. So this constructor will give you an output 10 space 20. In the next line, we have called the third constructor because only a single value has been passed into it, and here there is a match because there is also a single parameter inside it. So the value 7 will be passed into M, then into B, and then also into A. So in the next statement, the values of A and B, which are 7 and 7, will be printed on screen. In the next line, in this statement, we have created another object which is OB clone of the same class A, because here we can see that this is the class name and this is the object, actually OB clone. Now this OB clone object will actually call this constructor, and here we can see that as parameter we have passed OB2 to this reference variable. So this constructor will actually call this constructor, and here we can see that the OB2 object, which is this object, has been passed as parameter. So this OB2 object is of which class? Is of A class, and this reference variable is of which class? A class. So no type mismatch is there. So this OB2 object can easily be passed into this reference variable OB, just like the previous program. So this OB2 object will be passed into this OB, and whenever this statement will be executed and this portion of this statement will be called, this overloaded constructor will be executed, and this OB2 will be passed into OB. And inside this parameter body, we have written two value assignment statements. The first one says A equal to OB dot A. OB dot A means actually OB2 dot A, because OB2 has come into this reference variable. Now OB2 dot A means which value? 10. So the value 10 will be assigned into this A instance variable, and in the next statement OB dot B means OB2 dot B. So using OB2, which value has been passed into the variable B? 20. So 20 will be assigned into B. In the next statement, when the two values will get printed, it will give you 10 space 20 as output. So let's see the output. This is the output, just as I discussed. Here the program has been executed. The first output is no parameters. The second output is A and B, 10 space 20. The third output is 7 and 7. And the fourth output is same as the second output, 10, 20. Why? Because in the fourth object, we have passed as parameter the second object OB2. So whatever values have been passed to using the object OB2 have also been used by the fourth object OB clone. That's why whatever values we can see here using the object OB2 can also be seen here using the object OB clone. Now let's go back to the program. Now let's understand what happens when we are passing an object as parameter into a constructor parameter. So basically what we have done is that we have created an object OB2, and using that object OB2 we have passed two values 10 and 20. Then we have created another object OB clone, and we have passed the same object OB2 as parameter in this object creation statement. I'm not writing OB1 and OB3 object creation statements because they are normal object creation statements, as we all know. So here what happens in memory, now let's see. So whenever this object OB2 is created, memory will be allocated for the two instance variables of the class A and B. And the values that will be assigned into A is 20 and into B, A will contain 10 and B will contain 20. And OB2 will point to the base address of this heap where the memory has been allocated. Now, whenever we are creating another object OB clone, this statement will create the object physically in memory, and whenever it finds that the object OB2 has been passed as parameter, so OB clone will also point to the same object. And we all know that whenever an object is being created, a unique copy of the class members will come into it. And no two copies of two different objects will be same. That we have already discussed. But here what happens, as we are passing the object OB2 itself as parameter to this constructor, in order to create this object OB clone, so OB clone is also pointing to the same object in memory. Okay, and the same copies are being sent to the object OB clone. That means the copies of these two instance variables A and B that have come into OB2 will also come into OB clone. Whatever values will be there in these two instance variables A and B will also be there in these two in the object OB clone, because OB clone is also pointing to this object. That means the values of A and B that have come into OB2, those values or those copies will also come into OB clone. That means OB2 and OB clone will contain the same copies of the two instance variables A and B, which are the class members or A class members. The class name is A and the class members are only two, A and B. So the copies of the class members A and B that have come into OB2 will be exactly same with the one of the object OB clone, because OB2 has been passed as parameter while creating this object OB clone. That's why we can say that this OB clone object is a clone object of this OB2, because whatever values we will be passing here using the object OB2, using this object creation statement of OB2 will also be there in this OB clone object. If you pass here three values, the OB clone object will also contain three values, and the OB clone object will contain the exact copies of those three values that have come to OB2. So basically this OB clone object is a clone object of OB2, and this is how we can implement the concept of object cloning in Java. Now, in order to implement object cloning, we can also use another method, which is clone method, that we will discuss later. But here also the same concept of object cloning is being implemented by using this object passing to constructor parameter. So whenever we will pass an object to a constructor parameter, and if that object is another object of that class itself, then the object that will be created, which is OB clone in our case, will be a clone object of this object OB2, which is the object in our case. So basically in our case the OB clone object is the clone object of OB2, because OB2 has been passed as parameter to the same constructor. Now let's go back to the program. Now this object cloning will only happen when this constructor overloading takes place. Only when constructor overloading takes place, then only this type of situation will arise, where the OB2 object will also be passed to the same constructor parameter. If the classes contain only one constructor, if this A class contain only one constructor, then this object cloning will not happen. And if the four constructors are there in four different classes, obviously the names of the constructors will then be changed. Then also object cloning will not be happen. Object cloning will only happen whenever constructor overloading will be there, and we will be passing one object that has been created here, which is ob2, to the parameter of the same constructor, which is an overloaded constructor. Now, if constructor overloading is not there, then in this way, we cannot implement object cloning. Obviously, using the clone method, we can implement object cloning anytime, whenever we want. But in order to implement object cloning in this way, you have to use constructor overloading within a single class. And then from inside the main class, you have to pass one object to the same constructor, which is an overloaded constructor of the previous class. So this is how we can pass objects as parameters to a method that we have already shown in the previous program. And now we have seen that objects can also be passed as parameters to a constructor. Now let's go to the next topic of today's lecture, which is argument passing. Now we all know that arguments can be passed as parameters to a method or a constructor. Now whenever we pass arguments like variables to a method, um, there is a thing called method and calling method that I have already told multiple times in my previous lectures. Now the parameters that are there inside the called method are known as formal parameters, and the parameters that will be there in the inside the calling method are known as actual parameters. So arguments, whenever we will pass arguments, more specifically variables, then if you make any changes to the formal parameters, that may or may not have effect to the actual parameters. This is what happens normally in other programming languages like C or C++. The same concept is applied here also. Whenever we will be passing some arguments, specifically variables, to a method. Now, argument passing is of two types, call by value and call by reference. You have already learned these concepts in C or C++ languages. These concepts are also there in Java. So let us learn each of these concepts by doing some programs. This is a simple program that demonstrates the use of call by value. Here you can see that this is the main class. The class name is call by value. This is the main method. And inside this main method, we have created an object OB of this test class. You can see that inside this test class, we have written a method named math, and the parameters are I and j, which are of integer types. Inside this method body, we have done some arithmetic operations on the two parameters I and j. Now inside this main method, we have taken two variables a and b. Both have been assigned with some values, a with 15 and b with 20. Now as these two variables a and b are declared within the scope of main method, so these two are local variables, then we have printed the values of a and b before call to this math method. Before calling this math method from inside this main method, we have printed the values of a and b. So obviously this would give you 15 and 20 as output. Then we have called the math method using the object ob. Obviously we have to call this method using object of this test class, and then we are passing a and b. So actually we are passing what? We are passing actually the values 15 and 20 that have been stored into the variables a and b respectively. So we are calling this main math method here. Here the math method has been called using this OB object, and the values we are passing here are a and b. So basically this math method has been called by passing values to the parameters. The values which we are passing here are a and b. A will be passed into I and B will be passed into J. So then I will be calculated like this. We all know that this statement means I equal to I into 2. So the value of I, which is 15, will be multiplied with 2. So that would be 30 and the same value will be stored into I itself. Then J by equal to 2 means J equal to J by 2. So the value of J is 20 because the value of B is 20 that have been passed to J. So 20 is the value of J which will be divided by 2. So the quotient would be 10 and the value will be stored into the J variable itself. So J will contain 10 and I will contain 30 after these calculations take place. Now this main is the calling method and here the called method is math. So inside this calling method, whenever we are making a call to another method, we are passing some values into it because this is a program of call by value. That's why we are calling this math method by passing some values. These values are known as actual parameters. The values that have been used to call the called method. This main method is the calling method because here inside this its body we are calling this math method. That means this math method, which is this one, is the called method and main method is the calling method. So inside this main method body, this is the calling statement, and inside this calling statement we are passing the values a and b. So these are the parameters that are being passed to the called method math. These parameters are known as actual parameters, and this is the calling method called method body. Sorry, this is the called method math and this is the body of the called method, and these are the parameters of the called method. These parameters are known as formal parameters. Now the concept of call by value is also same in Java. The concept says that whenever we are calling a method using some values or by passing some values, the changes which are made to the formal parameters will have no effect on the actual parameters. That means the changes that we have made to these two parameters I and j, obviously the changes are made because their values have been changed. I now contains 30 and j now contains 10. Now these two values I and j will not be reflected in these two variables a and b because in order for these values to get reflected here inside main, these values must be returned. But these values are not returned here to a and b. That's why a and b will still contain 15 and 20. Before calling this math method, a and b contain 15 and 20, and after calling this math method a and b still contain 15 and 20 because we have made the changes in I and j, that is in the formal parameters, and these changes will have no effect on a and b because if you want to make these changes to have effect on a and b, you have to return these values of I and j to a and b, which we have not done. That's why whatever changes have been made to I and j will have no effect to a and b. So before calling this math method, a and b contain 15 and 20. After calling this math method, a and b still contain 15 and 20. So this is the implementation of call by value, where we can see that whenever we are calling a method, we are calling it by passing some values into its parameters, and whatever changes we are making in the formal parameters have no effect on the actual parameters. So let's execute the program. Just as I told, the values of a and b are same before calling the math method and after calling the math method. They will be 15 and 20 only. So this is the example of call by value. Now let's go to call by reference, As we know that in case of call by reference, whatever changes we are making to the formal parameters will have effect on the actual parameters. That means the actual parameters will also get changed. Now let's see that with an example program. So this is an example program that demonstrates how call by reference can be implemented. Let's understand this program. This test is a class. Inside it, two instance variables a and b of integer types are declared. This test is the constructor, a parameterized constructor. These are the I and j, these are the parameters of the constructors, and the values of I and j will be assigned into the instance variables a and b. This is a method which takes an object as parameter, and inside this method body, some manipulations or arithmetic operations are being performed. And this pass obj is the main class because inside it the main method is there. Now this test ob equal to new test 1520, this is the object creation statement. Ob is the object of this test class that we have created, and we have passed two values to the parameters of the test class constructor, 15 and 20. So 15 will be passed into I and 20 will be passed into j. Then 15, that is the value of I, will be passed into a, and the value of j, that is 20, will be passed into b. Now we have called the ob.a and ob.b values. That means we are printing the values of a and b by calling them or by accessing them using the object ob. So using the object ob, the values that have been passed into a and b are 15 and 20. So here ob.a will give you 15 and ob.b will give you 20. So the first output that you will see on screen will be 15 space 20. After that, the math method has been called using the object ob, and in the parameter, the ob object itself has been passed. Now here we can see that we have called the math method using the object ob, and we have also passed the same object ob as the parameter. So in the previous programs, you have seen that we are calling the object using we are calling the method using one object, and we are passing another object as parameter. But here you can see that we can also call a method and pass as parameter the same object. We can also call a method using an object, and we can also pass the same object as parameter to that method body. So this ob object is an object of test class, and inside this math method you can see that this o is a reference variable which is also of this test class, so no type mismatch is there. ob object can easily be fitted into this o reference variable. Now inside this method body, we can see that two arithmetic operations are taking place. O dot a into equal to 2. O dot a means actually ob dot a. Ob dot a means 15. Using the object ob, we have passed the value 15 into this instance variable a. So O dot a actually means 15. And this statement will actually be calculated like this: O dot a equal to O dot a into 2. So basically it will be ob dot a equal to ob dot a into 2. So ob dot a into 2 means this will be calculated as 30, and the value 30 will be stored into o dot a itself. In the next statement, we are also doing another arithmetic operation which can be written like this. I have used a compound assignment operator in order to perform these two operations. So o dot b means here actually ob dot b. Now using the object ob, what value has been passed into this b instance variable, that is 20. So o dot b means actually 20. So o dot b, this one will be divided by 2, which will give you 10, and the same value will be stored into o dot b. So now o dot b contains 20, sorry 10, and O dot A contains 30. More specifically, OB dot A contains 30 and OB dot B contains 10. That means we can see that if we pass an object to a method, we can easily change the values that have been passed into the instance variable using the same object. Here we can see that before this method was called, the values of A and B instance variables were 15 and 20, because these values have been passed to these instance variables A and B using the object OB. After the method is called using the object OB, and by passing the parameter by passing the OB object as parameter, you can see that the values of A and B got changed. They have become now 30 and 10. So whenever you will be calling this OB dot A and OB dot B here, they will give you 30 and 10, but not 15 and 20. That means in case of C or C++ languages, you have seen that we can implement the concept of call by reference by passing pointers, sorry, by passing addresses. That means pointers. Basically, address can be stored in a pointer variable in case of C language. So by passing the addresses, we can easily implement the concept of call by reference in C language. But in case of Java, as there is no concept of pointers, but there is obviously a concept of reference which is similar to pointers. So we will be passing the references or the instances or the objects as parameters in order to implement the concept of call by reference. Now here you can see that this is the actual parameter, because I have already discussed in the last program that actual parameters are those which are written inside the pair of parentheses while writing the method calling statement inside the main method. Main is the calling method and math is the called method. So whenever we are calling the math method from inside the main method, the value that we are passing is the actual parameter. So here actually OB is the actual parameter, and the parameter that has been written in the called method body, inside these two parentheses, we have written a parameter O. This is the formal parameter. So the parameter that we will write inside the pair of parentheses of the called method, that are known as formal parameters. So here in this case, this O is the formal parameter, which is a reference variable, and this OB is the actual parameter, which is an object of the test class. Now whatever changes we are making using this O also get reflected in OB. That means whatever changes we are making in the formal parameters also get reflected in the actual parameter. Here we can see that the changes that we have made to these two instance variables A and B using O are actually being reflected in OB also. That's why we are getting the changed value 30 and the changed value 10 here after this math method has been called. So this is how we can implement call by reference in Java by passing objects as parameters or references as parameters. As we are passing the objects which are also known as references, that's why the term call by reference. Here we have seen that the changes that have been made in the formal parameters actually have effect on the actual parameters. Now let's execute the program to see the change in output. As I just explained that before call the values were 15 and 20, and after call the values are 30 and 10. So here you can see that a change is there because of the changes made in the formal parameters. The actual parameters also got changed. So this is how we can implement object argument passing in Java. The two things that we have implemented today are call by value and call by reference. Both the things have been implemented, and we have shown using example programs how to implement call by value and call by reference concepts in Java programs. Now let's go back to the concept of this keyword. We have already learned some uses of this keyword. The first use is this can be used to refer current class instance variable that we have already discussed. This can be used to invoke current class method that we have already discussed. This can be used to invoke current class constructor that has been discussed in constructor chaining. This can be passed as an argument in the method call. So let us discuss this, how this can be passed as an argument in the method call. The next use of this keyword says that this keyword can also be passed as an argument in the constructor call. So today we have learned how object can be passed as an argument in the method call and in the constructor call. So now we will see how this keyword can be used in order to pass the current object as an argument in the method call and in the constructor call. So let's do some example programs to understand these two concepts. So this is a simple program that demonstrates how this keyword can be passed as an argument in the method call. Here there is a single class and the name of the class is S2. The method M and the method P are there inside the body of the S2 class. And you can see that inside the body of the M method, we have used an argument or a parameter that will accept an object of the S2 class itself. So this is a parameter where you can see that obj is the reference variable of S2 class type. Inside the M method body, we have just printed a statement method called. Inside the void P method, the return type is void. We have called the M method. And inside the M method parenthesis, we have passed this keyword. Now, by passing this keyword here means that we are passing the current object, because we know that this keyword always invokes the current object. So inside the main method, we have created an object small s1 of this s2 class. And using this object small s1, we have called this p method. So whenever this p method is called, this portion will be executed. Inside this p method body, we have called this m method and passed this keyword as an argument. Now, whenever we are passing this keyword as an argument, that means the current object that we are dealing with will be passed to this m method parameter. So currently with which object we are dealing? We are dealing with this S1 object. So actually this S1 object will be passed into this obj reference variable. Now this S1 object is of S2 class and this obj reference variable is also of this S2 class. So no type mismatch is there. So you can easily pass the current object using this keyword, which is S1, to this parameter obj. Inside this method called statement will be printed. That means here the use of this keyword is also redundant, because if you don't pass this keyword, that means if you don't explicitly pass the current object to the m method, then also this program will run, no problem will be there. But here, just to implement the concept of passing this keyword as an argument in the method call, we are passing this keyword here to this obj reference variable in order to make you understand that we can also use this keyword, we can also pass this keyword as an argument in the method call, where the current object, which is s1 in our case, will be passed to this parameter, which is obj in our case. So here this is being used as a keyword which will be used to invoke the current object or to pass the current object to a method call, to a method parameter. Here the method call is here, the method m is called here in this statement, and in this method call we are passing this keyword as an argument that will be passed to here obj in order to pass the current object, which is s1. So here also this keyword, the use of this keyword is redundant, as you can see. Here also, if you don't write this keyword, method called will be printed on screen. And here we are using this keyword in order to make the compiler understand forcefully or explicitly that we are passing, or we are dealing with the current object, which is S1. If you don't make the compiler understand, then also the compiler will automatically understand this. So let's execute the program to see the output. As you can see, that method called is the output. So the last topic of today's lecture is how this keyword can be passed as an argument in the constructor call. Now let's see an example program to understand this concept. So this is an example program that shows how this keyword can be passed as an argument to a constructor call. Now let's understand this program from main method. So this is the main method which is written inside this A4 class. So we all know that the execution starts from main method. So let's understand this program execution step by step, starting from the main method. Inside the main method, we have created an object small a of this A4 class itself. Till now we have seen that normally inside the main method we create an object of another class in order to access the contents of that class from inside the main class. But here in this program we can see that we have created the same class object inside the main method. It is also sometimes required, that obviously depends on the program requirement, where to create an object and to create an object of which class. It may also require sometimes that we have to create an object of the same class in its body itself. Like this is the case. Here we can see that this is the requirement of this program. That's why we have created an object A of the same class inside its own body. This is always not the case, but this is not at all wrong to create an object of a class inside its own body. This is perfectly all right. If the situation requires so, you have to do so. So this, whenever this object will be created, this part will call the constructor. That means this constructor body will be executed. Inside this constructor body, we have written another object creation statement. Now this time we have created an object small b of this b class, which is this class. Okay, and inside this part, which is the constructor calling part, we have passed this as a keyword. Now here, passing this keyword means that we are, obviously this keyword refers to the current object, we know that. So here by passing this keyword, we are actually passing the current object. Currently we are dealing with which object? Currently we are actually dealing with this A object, not this B object, because this object creation statement has actually forwarded the program control to here, because in order to execute this object creation statement, the compiler has to compile this constructor creation part. And whenever the compiler has to compile this constructor creation part, this part has to be executed. And in order to execute this part, this object creation statement has to be executed. So basically we are still in this object creation statement where this object A is being created. So in order to create this object, we have to execute this constructor. That means currently we are dealing with this A object, but not B. And as in this constructor, in this object creation statement, this part is the constructor calling part. That's why this constructor is being called. That's why this object creation statement will be executed. So basically passing this keyword actually means that we are actually passing the current object with which we are dealing with currently, which is A, not B. So actually we are passing this A object here inside this parameter. So now let's see where this will go. So basically this small a, which is an object of this A4 class, will be passed into this constructor. Now let's see this constructor where it is. It is here. So this is the constructor part of this B class. Here inside this constructor part, we can see that a reference variable obj of A4 class type has been declared. And we are passing the current object using this keyword, which is A. And it is an object of A4 class. That means no type mismatch is there. So the small a can easily be passed into this obj. Now what we are doing, this dot obj equal to obj. So basically we are dealing with this small a reference variable. This right hand side part obj means this small a, and this left hand side part obj actually means the small a also. And here we have used this keyword because it is also obj and it is also obj, because the instance variable and the local variables names are same. That's why we are using this keyword here to resolve the namespace collision in order to prevent instance variable hiding. So this is the object obj, which is the reference variable of this b class. This is also a reference variable of this A4 class, and this obj is this parameter obj in which we have passed this keyword, that means the current object A. That means this right hand side part is this object A or this A object, and this left hand side part is obj, which is this reference variable, which is or also an instance variable of B class. This is a reference variable as well as an instance variable of this B class. Now inside this display method, we have printed obj.data. So basically inside this obj instance variable, we have put obj, which is this parameter. And inside this parameter, we have passed this. That means we have passed this small a object. So basically this obj means a. So now this dot obj equals to a. That means this obj instance variable also contains the value a. That means this obj reference variable will now also point to this a object in memory. So this a object is pointing to the base address of the heap which has been allocated for this object creation statement, and that heap memory is also being pointed to by this obj. That's what this statement means. This dot obj, that means this obj, which is this instance variable as well as a reference variable, is equal to obj, which is a actually, means that obj is also referring to the a object in memory. That means whenever we are dealing with obj.data, so actually we are dealing with a.data, because obj is also referring to a in memory. So obj.data means a.data. Now using a, we can easily access this data. So actually obj.data means a.data, which is 10. Now whenever this display method will be called using the b class object, so this display method will be called, so obj dot data will actually call a dot data. A dot data means this. We can easily access this data variable, which is an instance variable of this A4 class using A. A is an object of A4 class itself. And we can easily access the data variable of this A4 class using the object of this class itself. So this statement will not give you any error. This statement will instead use the data member of this A4 class, which is this one. So this portion will give you the output 10. So this program will actually give you an output 10. So this is a very interesting program where you can see that passing this keyword to this constructor calling is mandatory. If you don't pass this keyword here in this program, in this constructor call, the program will not be executed. So here it is necessary to pass this keyword in order to pass the current object. Let's see the output to better understand the program. Just as I told that the output should be 10, and yes it is, the output is 10. Now let's go back to the program. So this is how we can use or pass this keyword as an argument to a constructor call. Here you can see that that passing this keyword as an argument to this constructor call is necessary. If you don't do it, then this program is going to give you an error. So till now we have learned 5 uses of this keyword. We have learned the first 5 uses of this keyword. Only the 6th use is remaining that we will discuss in the next lecture. Thank you for listening to today's lecture. See you in the next lecture.